What kind of person grabs a pregnant woman's belly and declares it HOA property? That's exactly what happened to my wife, Sarah, on a sunny morning walk in our quiet suburban neighborhood. The culprit? Linda, our HOA president, a woman who ruled our cul-de-sacs like a dictator in sensible flats. Her audacious act didn't just cross a line, it ignited a rebellion that would unravel her reign and transform our community. Let me take you back to how it all went down, a story of outrage, unity, and a showdown nobody saw coming. It was one of those perfect spring days, the kind where the sun paints golden patterns through the trees, and the air smells like fresh-cut grass. Sarah and I were strolling hand in hand, her other hand resting gently on her rounded belly, cradling the life we couldn't wait to meet. She glowed with that quiet joy only expectant mothers have, her smile soft but radiant. Our neighborhood, with its neat lawns and picket fences, felt like a postcard, peaceful, idyllic. But that peace shattered faster than a dropped glass when Linda appeared. She strutted toward us, her heels clacking on the sidewalk like a warning drum. Linda wasn't just the HOA president, she was the self-crowned queen of our block, her every glance dripping with judgment. I tightened my grip on Sarah's hand, bracing for whatever nonsense she'd cooked up this time. But nothing could have prepared us for what came next. Without a word, Linda's hand shot out, landing on Sarah's belly with the confidence of someone claiming lost treasure. "This is HOA property," she declared, her voice sharp, theatrical, like she was auditioning for a VY Lane role. Time froze. My jaw dropped, and Sarah's eyes widened, her hands instinctively shielding our unborn child. The absurdity of her words hung in the air like a bad smell. HOA property? Our baby? The neighborhood seemed to hold its breath. Birds stopped chirping, leaves stopped rustling. I could feel my pulse hammering, a mix of shock and fury tightening my chest. Sarah, ever the calm one, stood her ground, her gaze locking onto Linda's with a quiet defiance that said more than words ever could. But beneath her composure, I knew she was as shaken as I was. How could someone violate such a sacred boundary with such smug entitlement? Linda's cold eyes gleamed, as if she thrived on our discomfort. She launched into a spiel about community standards and property oversight, her words a jumbled mess of fake rules she'd clearly made up on the spot. Each syllable was a jab, her tone laced with glee at wielding her imagined power. To her, the HOA wasn't about shared space, it was her personal kingdom, and we were just peasants who'd forgotten our place. My fists clenched, but Sarah's steady hand on mine kept me from erupting. This wasn't just about us anymore. Linda's stunt was the latest in a long line of overreaches, finding people for unapproved mailbox colors, dictating lawn heights to the inch, harassing retirees over porch decorations. She'd gone too far, and the spark of her arrogance was about to ignite something bigger. Word of the incident spread like wildfire. Neighbors who'd once shrugged off Linda's antics were now livid. By evening, our driveway was a hub of whispered outrage, faces flushed with stories of her petty tyranny. There was Emma from 12A, who'd been fined for planting tulips outside regulation colors. Tom, a quiet widower, shared how Linda threatened to tow his car for parking an inch over his driveway line. Each tale fueled a growing fire, a shared realization that Linda's rule wasn't about order, it was about control. She thrived on fear, her pursed-lipped smiles and clipped emails a veneer for her need to dominate. The next few days were a blur of action. Sidewalk chats turned into strategy sessions. Group texts buzzed with plans. Even shy Clara from next door, who'd always avoided conflict, brought a binder of HOA minutes she'd secretly kept, documenting Linda's every power grab. Her notes were gold proof of fabricated rules, unfair fines, and meetings where dissenters were silenced. Meanwhile, Mike, a history teacher with a knack for words, drafted emails that rallied us like troops before battle. He compared our fight to historic uprisings, reminding us that communities could topple tyrants when united. His words hit home. We weren't just fighting for Sarah or ourselves. We were fighting for our right to live free of Linda's iron fist. The showdown came at the next HOA meeting, held in the community center's stuffy hall. Folding chairs creaked under the weight of a packed room, the air thick with tension. Neighbors exchanged glances, their nods a silent pact. Linda strode in, her pearl necklace gleaming like armor, her chin high as if she still owned us. She adjusted her glasses and began her usual lecture on standards, oblivious to the storm brewing. But the script was about to flip. Mike stood first, his voice steady but sharp. Linda, we're here because your actions have crossed every line. You've turned rules into weapons, sowing fear instead of community. The room murmured agreement, heads nodding. Linda's smirk faltered, but she doubled down, her voice rising with threats. You'll regret this, she snapped, pointing at Mike. That's when she made her fatal mistake. In a burst of desperation, she lunged toward him, as if physical force could reclaim her slipping control. But Mike wasn't alone. Enter Dan, our neighbor and a former Marine, a man of few words but unshakable resolve. Dan was a quiet giant, respected for his calm and his service. As Linda charged, he moved like lightning, sidestepping her with ease. In one fluid motion, he caught her arm, using her momentum to guide her to the ground. The grass cushioned her fall, but the impact of the moment was deafening. Linda lay pinned, her protests shrill but powerless. Dan's hold was firm, not cruel, a symbol of our collective stand. The room erupted in gasps, then silence, as the weight of what just happened sank in. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Someone had called the police, and as they arrived, the crowd parted. Dan stepped back, joining us as Linda scrambled to her feet, her defiance crumbling under the officer's calm authority. Statements poured out: Clara's binder, Emma's fines, Tom's harassment. The police listened, their notepads filling with the truth of Linda's reign. As she was led to the squad car, her protests faded into the evening air. The neighborhood exhaled, a weight lifting we hadn't realized we'd been carrying. In the weeks that followed, our community came alive. Dan stepped up as interim HOA leader, his quiet fairness a balm after Linda's chaos. Meetings became open forums, buzzing with ideas. We voted on decisions, from budgets to park upgrades, each choice reflecting our shared vision. Gardens bloomed, playgrounds sparkled, and laughter filled the streets. Neighbors who'd barely spoken now shared coffee and stories, their bonds forged in the fire of our rebellion. Sarah and I felt it too. Her belly grew, a symbol of hope in a neighborhood reborn. We painted the nursery, hung tiny clothes, and dreamed of the life ahead, knowing our child would grow up in a community that fought for fairness. Linda's era was a fading shadow, a reminder of what we'd overcome. Our streets, once her stage, were now ours, a place of unity, resilience, and the kind of justice that only comes when good people stand together. As the sun set on our transformed neighborhood, painting the sky in hues of fire and calm, I looked at Sarah and saw the future. Our baby would inherit more than a home. They'd inherit a community that dared to rise, a legacy of courage that no tyrant could ever break.